Om Shanti, good morning. So today is Sunday and we have Avyakt Murli. And there is this expression, Swaman, which is always translated as self-respect, but I don't translate it like that. But I think it means self-honor, which is different. And so you can receive honor when you honor others. Today, Bap Dada is seeing all his children everywhere who are honoring themselves. Do you know how to honor yourself? There's a lot of people put themselves down with the thought that that's soul consciousness. And that is not. That's just the other side of the coin of ego. So we need to be careful about that. Because there is a culture of making people think that humility is to put yourself down, but it isn't. And so we have to get this right, I think. Otherwise, if we practice soul consciousness incorrectly, we will just remain iron-aged, which is not very interesting, right? Who wants to do that? You make all this effort just to stay iron-aged. It's not worth it. So we have to rethink this. So your honor, who are you? Why did God call you? Not so that you could be some kind of down under the ground worms or something. That's not his style. But because you are the former kings of the golden age. Is that right or not right? Yeah. Even if you're not the actual emperor and empress, Lakshmi and Narayan, but you're pretty up there. And in comparison with all the rest of the souls of the world, very up there. So to honor who you are is very important. Because in the world, most people try to get you to not honor yourself. So we have to resist that. So those children who honor themselves do get honored throughout the cycle. You honor yourself for just one birth, and you are honored for the whole cycle. Because you have the right to rule your own kingdom. How did you get the right? God gave you the right. So because you have that right, the subjects honor you naturally. For half the cycle, you receive honor from the devotees. When devotees worship the image of a deity, that's not called respecting them. That's called honoring them. So now, even in your last birth, you can see and hear how the devotees honor the deities, and they honor the Shakti form of the deities. Even now, they honor and love those deities from the depths of their hearts. So you are those. How did you attain such elevated fortune? All this fortune comes from renouncing just one main thing. And what did you renounce? You renounced body consciousness. So putting yourself down is body consciousness. And the world conspires to make you put yourself down. So that's not humility, that's body consciousness. So you are unable to stabilize yourself in your self-honor unless you renounce that body consciousness, putting yourself down. So in return for this renunciation, God, the bestower of fortune, gave you the blessing of this fortune. So it's a very, very subtle thing to understand the difference between the ego of putting yourself up and the ego of putting yourself down. And then the other thing, which is to be able to honor who you are. Very different, but it's very subtle. So you have to think about that and observe the self very carefully to see what is it to actually honor who you are, which is not being arrogant and not putting the self down. So secondly, the Father himself has given honor to you children. You had been like servants, putting yourself at his feet. And this translation is a bit weird, so I had actually retranslated it because I had to do this for a different country a few days ago, but it's not really maids and servants at his feet, it's something else. When people are devotees, they prostrate themselves in front of the image of the deity. So he's talking about that. So from those who prostrated themselves, he made you into the crowns on his head. Nothing to do with maids and servants. He had given you such great honor. The Father has respect. The Father honors those children who honor themselves. The Father keeps the children ahead of himself. Ahead of himself means in front, high. He praises the virtues of you children and to give love to you from the depths of his heart. He comes into the corporeal world from the supreme abode every day. He doesn't just send you love from there, but he comes personally to give it. Sometimes people have asked us, what is the difference between what God does in the copper and iron ages with the devotees and what he does with the BKs in the confluence age? So with the devotees, he will send vibrations and help and things, but here it comes personally. You receive love and remembrance every day, don't you? No one can give this much elevated honor to anyone. The Father has given you this honor, and this is why you have those who have a right to be honored eternally. Do you understand who you are? But without ego. So the sign of ego is violence and imposing who you are on other people, putting them down. But if you are in your self-honor, you just know who you are. You don't have to prove it. Do you experience this kind of greatness? Self-honor and honoring others are connected with each other. Yeah, if you're in your power, you don't try and get power. If you honor yourself, you don't want other people to respect you. And your self-honor means that you will behave in that way towards others because that's who you are. So those who have self-honor would maintain honor. They would respect the honor that they have received, and they would remain in their own self-honor. And the way they see, speak to, and form connection with others is from that place of self-honor. They honor the others. The meaning of honor for the self is to actually honor yourself. So, moment by moment, remember who you are. Even if other people treat you by making you low, don't buy into it. The Father is honored by all the souls of the world. Each soul considers him with that honor. To the extent that the Father receives honor, to that extent, he honors all his children. If someone doesn't honor another, then they can't be a deity. Right? A deity would not be lording it over everybody. That's very ordinary behavior. But to honor everyone, this is the sign of a deity. You become deities for many births, and you are worshipped in the form of a deity for many births. You become Brahmins for one birth, but you rule as deities and become worthy of worship for many births. A deity means a giver. If you do not honor others in this birth, how could you become deities? How could you be honored for many births? It's all very reciprocal, right? If you put people down, they won't love you. If somebody puts you down, do you love them? No. Why? Why would you do that? Yeah, but it doesn't mean that you should make them continue with that. You have to give them a signal. Excuse me. Do you know who you're talking to? Just a vibration. Because otherwise, you're taking sorrow, which is a sin. So you don't need to do that. How would you receive honor for many births if you do not honor others? Follow the Father. You saw Father Brahma in the corporeal form. He always considered himself to be a world servant. So a world servant doesn't mean someone who is a servant, but you remember in the Murlis, the Sakar Murlis, Baba used to refer to the Viceroy of India, who, when he would write letters to anyone, he would sign it, "Your obedient servant." And this is typical of people in extremely high positions, or if the king would write a letter and sign it, he would never write, "I am King so-and-so." he would write, "Your obedient servant," and just his name, but not king. So this is the sign of the royal person. So the server is the one who is the protector and the carer. He considered himself to be the servant of the children, and he made the children the masters. So servant in the sense of he's there to serve. Like in United States, they say, "I serve as president." It doesn't mean he's doing the washing up or something for everybody. He always saluted the children as the masters because he knows who you're going to become. He always gave little children love filled with respect, and he saw them in the form of future world benefactors. So those who were the daddies, they were children when Baba started, right? Daddy Prakash Mani was 12. Daddy Gulzar was 8. They're little kids. So they didn't know who they were at all, but Baba knew who they were going to become. He saw the Kumars and Kumaris as the youth, those who had the capacity to challenge the very powerful, famous souls of the world, those who made the impossible possible, those who made the heads of the great souls bowed down. Great souls means Mahatmas. That means to say he's talking about the young ones who are giving the knowledge to the religious leaders and the religious leaders accepting it. This is what he means by Mahatmas. He saw these young people respecting such pure souls. He always honored them, considering them to be great souls who would perform even greater wonders than he himself. Similarly, he considered the elderly to be experienced people, and he honored them as his equals. He always considered those in bondage, honoring them, that they are number one in remembrance. And this is why he became the soul to receive number one imperishable honor. And he became Narayan, number one, emperor of the world. That's not a small thing. He was number one in being honored in the kingdom as the world emperor and in the worship-worthy form as well, how people honor Krishna, they honor Narayan. So he is the first to be worshipped after the Father in the form of Lakshmi and Narayan, that is Vishnu. So he became number one in receiving honor as the ruler, and also in terms of he was honored by the devotees who worshipped him. And this was because he honored everyone. He did not think that he would only give honor to others if they honor him. It's not conditional like that. Those who honor others also consider those who defame them to be their friends. This is a well-known aphorism. Those who defame you are your friends. They do not consider only those who honor them to be their own people, but even those who insult them, they consider them to be their own. So those who insult them, it doesn't mean that they insult them. It means that they challenge them when they make mistakes. Because if you give regard to people only on condition that they give you regard, nobody will ever challenge your mistakes, which means you get away with it, which means they're not really your friends because you're doing negative karma and you will pay. So if somebody calls you out for a mistake, that's actually useful for you. So those who honor everyone consider the whole world to be their own, their family. You Brahmins are the trunk for all the souls, the trunk of the Kalpa tree, because all the branches are the souls of the different religions, and they have all emerged from this main trunk, which means all of them are your own. He's talking about prejudice, religious prejudice. So if you think that anyone who is not a BK is not okay, or anyone who is not a Hindu is not okay, and that you don't like people on the basis of their religion, that you can't become the honored ruler if you do that. So he says, they're all your own people. They're not other. You know this word pariah? It's an Indian word, but it's also used in English. It means not. So any kind of racism or discrimination on the basis of gender, color, religion, all of that makes you unable to be an honored ruler. So make sure that you don't have any of that. Those who have such self-honor constantly consider themselves to be the master creators. So Shiv Baba is the creator, Brahma Baba the creator of the human world. So you are also children of the creator. Master creator means the child of. And so you do likewise. So you are constantly the ones who honor everyone. Do you always consider yourselves to be the original jewels who belong to Adi Dev Brahma? So Adi Ratan, the original jewels, who are playing your parts from the beginning. So the first souls who became BKs from the beginning, these are called Adi Ratan. So Bap Dada used to always call me Adi Ratan because I was the first foreigner. So do you have that much honor for yourself? So did all of you hear what the honor for the children is? And what is how do you honor children? How do you honor the elder people? How do you honor the youth? Adi Pita, the original father Brahma, considered you with this much honor. So when you are honored by such a one, how does that make you feel? That reminds you who you are, right? It makes you come into who you are. So stay in that self-honor. Don't let yourself go down, because he says that's body consciousness. That's coming under the influence of the people around you who look at you as low. And don't buy into that. It's not necessary. It's not who you are. So always remain aware that you will constantly remain in the world of such an elevated stage according to the elevated drishti that the first soul, Brahma Baba, the first human soul, had for you. So promise yourself this. You will not look at yourself as low. Can you do that? Sure? Without being arrogant? You continue to make promises, don't you? You make promises in words, promises in your minds, and also in writing, but then you lose it, right? You go back to that sense of self which is low, and you apologize for your existence. Don't do that, because you are not low. So this is why you're not able to take benefit from your promises. You realize who you are for a second and then you lose it. So realize for a few more seconds and hold on to it. If you remember the promises, you can also take benefit from them. So all of you should check yourselves. How many times have you made a promise? And how many times did you fulfill that promise? Do you know how to fulfill this promise to yourself that you will not put yourself down? Or do you only know how to say, I will not put myself down, but then you put yourself down? Because otherwise, what happens when a person receives a lot of put downs for their whole life? They react against it and become arrogant. So that doesn't work. This is something different. Come into your honor without needing anybody to honor you, but you always honor yourself. Or do you keep fluctuating? Sometimes you make a promise and sometimes you fulfill that promise. What do the teachers think? Are you teachers? Sometimes Baba calls us student teachers. We're all students, but we also teach, right? A teacher also is somebody who gets a responsibility. So we have different responsibilities, right? So you are in the list of those who fulfill your promises, right? Baba always calls the teachers his companion teachers. So what is the speciality of a companion? If you're somebody's companion, you're on the same level. There are many marriages where someone's dominant and someone's a slave. Mostly they're like that, but that's not a successful marriage. When you're on an equal level, that's much better. So a companion is equal. Does the father ever change from his promise? He always keeps you like up. So teachers are also those who keep the balance between the promise and the benefit. So Vida and Fida. What is the benefit of promising to honor yourself? You inspire other people to see you as you truly are. But if you don't see yourself, then how can they see you? If you make many promises, but you don't get much benefit, it means you're not keeping the balance. Those who keep a balance of the two receive blessings from the Father. Such souls always become the forms of success in their actions because they have determination in their thoughts. If you put yourself down, you can't have determination, can you? Not possible. You say, this is who I am, this is what I will do. And you do it and let go. This is the special action of the teachers who are the companions. let your thoughts means intentions, and your actions be equal. If your thoughts, your intentions are elevated, but your actions are ordinary, then that's not called everything being equal. So ordinary is you put yourself down, so you do ordinary things with that thought that you are ordinary. Brahma Baba used to do ordinary things in the awareness of who he is. So that ordinary thing became a special thing. Yeah? So teachers, always consider yourselves to be companion teachers or teachers who are like the Father, and continue to become powerful with this awareness. Powerful means in your power. Bapdada is pleased with the courage of the teachers. By maintaining courage, you became the instruments. So those who are looking after centers, this is who he's talking about. Now, always remember the slogan that as a teacher, when you maintain courage, you are equal to the Father, who is the teacher. So you don't let anyone put you down. Everyone will try that. Never forget this. Then the aim of constantly being equal to Bapdada will be in front of you. That is, he will be with you. Do you feel he is with you all the time? And all those people who look at you as nothing, they're just blind. But don't go along with it. Bapdada is seeing all the children everywhere who honor themselves and who receive honor personally. From his eyes, he's looking at you with that honor, and he is giving you love and remembrance with this vision of honor. To the children who are constantly equal companions in terms of ruling the kingdom and as a worship-worthy being. This is your stage. So to such ones, love, remembrance, and namaste. Why do people not put you up? And because they're afraid you go out of control. That's why. But it doesn't mean that you go out of control, because they only see either you put somebody down and then they become under your influence, or if you put someone up, they might go against you. So they're afraid. But God is not afraid of that. But he makes it clear the difference between the two sides of ego, that you put yourself up or you put yourself down. Shanti. So now Baba is talking to the group that has come from Bihar. Now you know Bihar is in towards the eastern part of India, and it's a state which is relatively poor, and it's also where the Buddhism came from. Yeah. And it's also got a lot of industry, mining and all this, right? Bihar. I've been there. So do you always consider yourselves to have the right to honoring yourself? Now, the right to independence. Have you become independent, or are you going to get independence? This word self-sovereignty, Swaraj, it's always translated self-sovereignty, but you don't know what that means. Self-sovereignty is not an English expression. It doesn't have any meaning. But this word Swaraj actually means independence. So are you independent of the stuff that people project onto you? So independence means that you are able to perform the actions with your sense organs when you want, how you want, if you want, and not if you don't want. Means you are free. To be a conqueror of your sense organs, conqueror doesn't mean that you suppress them. It means that you use them, you're the master. You are the independent ruler. So that means you are Swaraj, independent, free. Have you become such independent people, or do you come under the influence of your sense organs? Coming under the influence of your sense organs means your feelings, because you experience different feelings on the basis of sense perception. So you have a good day, a bad day. Actually, the day is just a day, but you feel different because of influences. Or somebody said something and put you down, and you feel bad. That's a sense perception. Because if they say something, you heard it through your ears, you didn't hear it any other way. Now, does your mind sometimes rule you? You have thoughts. There is a thing called complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Have you ever heard of that? It's the latest, greatest thing that is happening. And when people put you down a lot, you get this. And it causes you to have thoughts about yourself that are like depressing. And so, as Baba says, if you have a thought about yourself that makes you feel depressed, that means your mind has taken over from what you know. And so if you are free, you can even say to your mind, "Excuse me, who do you think you are? I am the boss here. You be quiet." Does your mind ever have waste thoughts? So, waste is Vyart, and waste, you can't have a waste thought. That's a funny idea to have a waste thought. You have a meaningless thought. Vyart, I always translate Vyart as it doesn't have any meaning. So you have a thought about yourself, which is a bit of a self put down. That's meaningless. What? So if your mind has these thoughts, where do you get those thoughts from? You hold on to something that somebody said to you or did to you or looked at you a certain way, and you do it to yourself. That's a waste thought or a meaningless thought. So if your mind sometimes has this meaningless thoughts, would you say at that time that you are the independent person? No. You came under the influence of this depressing thought and you said, "Oh." And he says, "Don't do that." So to have a kingdom means to have great authority. So you are the authority. That doesn't mean to be authoritarian. Authority means that you know better than to do that. Mostly people have faulty logic. And they say, "Oh, somebody very important thought I was stupid, therefore I must be stupid." That's faulty logic. Somebody very important thought I was stupid because they're blind. Okay, it's all right, not a problem. It doesn't mean, oh, I have to be bad about myself. No. A ruling authority can do whatever he wants. He's teaching us to be kings. So the Raj Yogis means you are the ruler, and you decide what thoughts you entertain, what thoughts you sustain, and what state of being you entertain, right? So this ruler can rule in any way that he wants. The mind, the intellect, and the sanskaras are capacities or facilities. Your soul is not mind, intellect, sanskaras. Your soul has mind, intellect, sanskaras. So you use your mind how you want, you use your intellect how you want, and you use whichever sanskaras are useful for you. And any sanskara that is not useful for you, you don't have to use it. It's up to you. So each soul is the master of these three faculties. If your sanskaras pull you towards themselves, have a look at what you think of as bad sanskaras. Do you have any bad sanskaras? You must have a few somewhere. And so if you're bad sanskara, that means your sanskara of putting yourself down, if it wants to get activated, you tell it, what? Sit down, be quiet. You don't belong here. Right? Yeah, or 4,990 some. So to have the authority to rule yourself means to be a conqueror of your sense organs. This word conqueror, do not use it to mean suppress. Most BKs understand it that way because that's what conqueror means. But to be the master, the ruler. Because, for example, your eyes, right? Where do your eyes go, which is not what you want them to do? Do you find that? So that means it's an indicator that tells you that there's an energy which is to do with how your soul got corrupted through something that you experienced in the material world, and your eyes will let you know that this is how it happened. And so you pull yourself back into your self-honor, and they won't do that. This is secret information. Don't forget. So those who are the masters, the conquerors of the sense organs, can attain the authority of the kingdom of the world. You know, there's this little thing about see no evil, hear no evil, etc. So when you try to suppress yourself, it's always 100% ineffective. And yet people still carry on doing it. So that is a sign of not very smart. So don't try and suppress anything. Conquering doesn't mean suppress. It means put yourself in the right state, and they won't do it. And this is called soul consciousness. So those who are self-sovereigns or the independent people can become the ones who have a right to the kingdom of the world. You have the right, but you have to claim the right. So the slogan of Swaraj, self-sovereignty is the birthright of Brahman life. Now you have to explain it to yourself differently, that you're independent as a Brahman. This is your right because you have a Brahman birth. You become free. He offers us mukti, jivan mukti, right? It means freedom in life, not next life, this life. In the context of everybody trying to put you in jail. Assert your freedom. And perform, because we are actors, they have to perform around people who want to take away your freedom. So you perform in such a way that they don't know what you're doing. They get off your back, right? This is smart. So the stage of the Swaraj person, the person with independence, is always a master almighty authority. That means you are in your power, you understand the game that's going on, you don't buy into it, and you perform in such a way that they don't even know that you know what's going on and that you're not buying into it. Right? Can you do that? So such a one lacks no power. You are in your power. So a Swaraj person, an independent person, would always observe dharma. So you have to think a lot about what is dharma. It's definitely not religion, because religion is all about putting you down. So I don't believe in that. But dharma is about being what you are. That's the actual meaning of the word dharma, to be what you are. So if you're a chair, you have to be what you are and people will sit on you. But you're not a chair. You're a soul. And so the dharma of a soul is you are the master of your faculties. That's the meaning of the word dharma. And so when you translate dharma as religion, what is the religion of a soul? Soul didn't have a religion. So the dharma of the soul is I am pure, peaceful, powerful, loveful, blissful, etc. And have a nice day. That's your dharma. So if you have dharma, excuse me, you would be the embodiment of dharna. So what is dharna? That you have understood and become the expression of what Baba says, right? So you are the embodiment of dharna in terms of your kingdom. So your dharna is you are the king of your kingdom, which is your mind, intellect, sanskaras, and your sense organs. So whatever you experience through your sense organs has to be interpreted and worked with according to who you are, not according to whoever said something or did something. So this is always powerful. Now, a very interesting piece of information. Why is there now fluctuation in the government? So he's talking particularly about the government of India. And India used to be an empire, a kingdom. And then when it became independent, it became a secular republic. And so he says, this is why there's a problem. But you couldn't have kings. It's not possible. Because they were just all against each other, all the kings. So why is there fluctuation in the government? Because the authority of religion has become separate from the authority of government. This is a very interesting point, because the United States, there is a law that you have to make sure that church and state are separate. And he says that's the problem. But in United States, it says it has to be separate, but it's not that separate, because you can't actually separate it. But when you put it into law that you separate it, you get a problem. So this is very interesting. So listen to this carefully. Baba says, because there is only one authority, the authority of government, but not the authority of religion, they became lame. And this is why there is fluctuation. Now, on the other side of the division of India was Pakistan, which became an Islamic theocracy. So they have the authority of religion only. So when you have religion doing everything, or when you have the secular doing everything, you're equally one-legged. So what is it to have the authority of religion and the authority of political authority working together? So there's no example of that in the world today, but this is what he is setting up. And of course, the deities, there's no religion in the Golden Age, no matter how much anybody says it's a deity religion. It isn't. It's a civilization where there is a high degree of spirituality. And it is said, if you look at this picture over here, Lakshmi and Narayan, they have a double crown. And the meaning of a double crown is that they are the authorities of the political and the spiritual life of the people. So that's a double crown. So if you do that in the world today, there would be tyranny. And so that wouldn't work. But we have to think about, because there's no example of this in the world today, think about what it's like. And of course, he says that you have to have it yourself. You have to have political and spiritual authority over yourself. That means you have to be a person who is spiritually very connected with God. And in terms of your political, that is your social interaction, in your power. And most people around you, including in the BK world, find that really quite terrifying. Because you never know what will happen if everybody's in their power, right? But it has to be, everyone is in their power and working together in harmony. That's way ahead of where we are at the moment, but that's where we have to go, don't you think? I think so. I think he's giving us very interesting information about this. So he says, similarly, in yourselves too, if you do not have the authority of your religion, that is your dharma, if you're not in your power as a soul, and your kingdom in your power in your relationships, then there will be obstacles and they will make you fluctuate and you will have to battle. But if you have both authorities, you will always be the carefree emperors. No obstacle can then come because nobody can make you feel less than, you see, because you don't allow it. So have you become such carefree emperors? Or are you concerned about your body? Concern about your body means that people should show you respect. Your relatives. Do the Pandavas have the concern of earning and of looking after your family, or do you remain free? Because brothers, traditionally, they must help the family financially. So the one who is making everyone move is making you move. So Shiv Baba, the one who is getting everyone to act is getting it done, right? You are instruments, so he is getting you to do whatever needs doing. Those who become instruments in this way are carefree emperors. So it's a very, very good stage, but it's very precise, so that you're not in your arrogance and you're not putting yourself down. There's flip-flop of the two sides, inferiority, superiority of ego. So if you have the consciousness that I am doing something, you cannot remain carefree. It's very interesting. how do you know that Baba is doing something through you or did something through you? And it's usually, some quite special thing that happened. And also, if you can do it again, it means you did it. If you can't do it again, it's he did it. And most of the things that you do that's just you, they're not that great, right? They're just basic stuff. But anytime something really good happens through you, and you couldn't do it again if you wanted to, it's a sign. So if you have the awareness that you have been made an instrument by the Father, you will then experience being carefree and free from worry in your life. And you will have no worries. You will not even worry about what is going to happen tomorrow. Who knows? Nobody knows tomorrow. Do you have a little worry about what is going to happen tomorrow or how it will happen? Do you say, I don't know when destruction will happen or what will happen to my children, what will happen to my grandchildren? You know what will happen. Everyone will die. A pleasant or unpleasant way, but that's what destruction means, right? So do you have these worries? There are many people who think, we are exempt from destruction. I don't think so. Sooner or later, we will die, right? Or not? A carefree emperor always has the faith that whatever is happening is good. Is that okay? Everything is good? And whatever is going to happen will be better. Because the one who is making you do everything is the best of all. This is called being victorious by your intellect having faith. So your intellect doesn't have any feelings, and your mind doesn't have any understanding. So if you want to feel something in your mind, if you want to understand something in your intellect, if you understand something with your mind, it'll be a misunderstanding. Yes, definitely. Because you take it a certain way, because you feel it a certain way. So something may look really bad, but you understand that this is predestined. It's fixed in drama. And everything is according to, Baba's way. So that makes it good. So that means you're okay with it. That's called intellect having faith. So have you become like this, or are you still thinking about it? You definitely have to become like this, don't you? You're receiving such a huge kingdom, so what are you worried about? Does anyone ever let go of their rights? Even those who live in the little huts, in the favelas, they will not let go of their rights. They have little property. They won't let it go. But you have got a huge attainment. Why would you let it go? So with the awareness of it being your right, always maintain the right and continue to fly. But don't think this is my center, these are my students, this is my this and that. That's not. That's something else. You're trustees, right? So remember this blessing. Swaraj, self-sovereignty, independence is my birthright. You are not those who experience attainment because of hard work, but because it's your right. So be in your power, be in your freedom. Acha. Bihar means those who always have the spring weather. Bahar is the spring. So do not go into the autumn and do not be where there are storms and hurricanes. That happens in the autumn, but always in the springtime, where all the flowers come out. Acha. Now, second group. Do you experience yourself to be those who change the world with your spiritual drishti? Because they say the world is according to your drishti. So it depends on your perception. Drishti is perception. You used to hear that you can change the world with your drishti, because it's a well-known aphorism in India. Jaise drishti vaise srishti. It's one of these little poetical couplets. But you have now become experienced in this. They say in English, they use this expression, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So if you fall in love with somebody, they look really beautiful. But when you fall out of love with them, same person doesn't look beautiful anymore. So it depends on your condition, what it looks like. Love is blind. Very blind. The world has changed through your spiritual drishti, hasn't it? Now that the Father is your world, the world has changed, hasn't it? There is a difference between your world previously and your world now. Same world, but you look at it differently. Previously, your intellects used to wander around the world, whereas now the Father has become your world. So the wandering of the intellect, that means distraction, right? The wandering of your intellect has stopped. Your intellect has become stable, because previously you used to wander. You would be distracted by many things, your relatives, your possessions. All of that has now changed. Now, do you remember bodies, or do you remember the bodiless one? If your intellects go towards a body, you think that that's not right, yeah? So then you change yourselves. Instead of thinking of yourselves as bodies, practice being bodiless beings. You're invisible. Right? Or not? Are you invisible? Has anybody ever seen you? No, they just see your performance or your costume, but they can't see you. So if they're making comments about your costume, say, oh, you don't like my dress? Oh, okay. So your world has changed, has it not? You yourselves have changed. Is the Father your world, or is there still something for you in the world? Your intellects do not go towards perishable wealth or perishable relationships. Perishable, why would they go? Because you think, oh, I have to have money, I have to have people, I have to have this, and I have to have that. But anytime they can disappear, right? So then what? Now, nothing of mine, like that perishable stuff, remains. Now, you don't have a thought or a dream like, I have a lot of money. Do you? You don't have a lot of money anyway. But if you did, any time it can disappear, you know. Because you have handed over everything to the Father. You're a trustee. Everything belongs to Baba. You use it according to his directions. So you have made what is mine into yours. Or do you think that what belongs to me is mine and what belongs to Baba is also mine? Do you think like that? The perishable body is perishable, right? Your old mind, do you need that mind in the golden age, which wanders off here and there and gives you bad time? They're not mine. You have given them to the Father. So the first thought you had for transformation means returning to what you were in the first place, is everything is yours. And by saying yours, you benefit. There's a very famous expression for one of the Sikh gurus, can't remember which one, but he was counting and he got up to 13, and the word for 13 is tera, yours. And he went off into a trance-like state and dedicated himself to God, and I am yours. So that's a story in the Sikh scriptures. It is not the father who benefits in this. If you say to Baba, everything is yours, anyway, the whole universe belongs to him. So, what's the difference? You benefit. Because by saying it is mine, you get trapped. And by saying it is yours, you become detached. By saying mine, you get burden. And by saying yours, you become double light trustees. So which is better? Is it good to be light or to be heavy? What do you prefer? Light. In today's world, if somebody is overweight, it doesn't feel good, right? Everyone tries to be light because to be heavy means to experience loss. But by being light, you benefit. Similarly, by saying mine, mine, your intellect becomes burdened. And by saying yours, yours, it becomes light. So everything is Baba's. Great, I am free, right? Until you become light, you cannot reach a high stage. Got to rise up. It is the flying stage that will give you the experience of bliss. There is pleasure in remaining light. Since you have found the Father, what is Maya in front of him? Nothing. Maya makes you cry, and the Father gives you the inheritance. Why does Maya make you cry? Because it makes you look like there is something. You take that, and then you find it was all fake. So then you get upset. So he gives you the attainment. Throughout the whole cycle, you cannot ever find such a Father who brings you such attainment. Even in heaven, you would not find such a Father. So do not forget him for even a second. Since you don't forget someone who brings you a limited attainment, how can you forget someone who brings you the unlimited attainment? So constantly remember that you are trustees. Never keep a burden with yourself. Yes. By following this, you will always laugh, sing, and fly. So, how do you laugh, sing, and fly? I think you have to become a bird. Right? They sing and fly. They probably laugh as well. So, what else do you need in life? To laugh, sing, and fly. It is only when you have attainment that you would laugh. You get happy when you get something, right? So, laughing, singing, and flying. That's a good practice, right? Otherwise, you would cry. So keep this blessing in your awareness. You are the ones who laugh, sing, and fly. You can make a t-shirt, laugh, sing, and fly, with a nice bird on it, right? We wear that. Dance, yeah, of course. Well, if you're flying, that's kind of dancing in the air, right? So you are the ones who laugh, sing, and fly, the ones who always stay in the Father's world. There is nowhere else in your intellect, there's nowhere else that your intellect would go, right? Do not cry, even in your dreams. Have you ever cried in your dreams? Yes? I never have, no. No. I had a very strange dream last night, but anyway, it didn't involve crying. It was such a strange dream. I was in this gigantic BK gathering, And it was in a theater, with these seats. And everyone was there. And I was sort of fairly in the back in the audience. And it was a competition for making speeches, extempore speeches. So there were all these candidates who were going to make these speeches. And then there was someone with a hose pipe who was spraying water all over the stage and all over the audience. It was holy. It wasn't holy, no. And then I was sitting there, some young girl sitting next to me, she suicided. I said, oh. She fell on the ground, but she didn't die. So I said something to her and she said, woke up again. I said, okay, that's good. And yeah, except that they shouldn't have been happy because it was like a very not a good vibe. And everybody was unconscious. And they were happy where they shouldn't have been happy. So it was a very strange thing. Like as if there was a very dark force that was operating and they were not aware. So what a dream. Anyway, I didn't cry. Nobody else cried. No, even the suicide was, oh, okay, I don't have to die. Very good. So do not cry even in your dreams. Do not cry even if Maya makes you cry. There is crying even in the mind, not just physical crying. Yeah. So Maya makes you cry and the Father makes you laugh. So to be constantly in Bahar, the spring, means to always remain happy and fragrant like flowers. Bengal, so Bengal and Bihar are next to each other. Bengal is those who are always remain sweet. There are very good sweets in Bengal. Have you been to Bengal? Rasgulla. Oh, that's pretty nice. Rasgulla is a kind of milky thing with lots of sugar. If you want to get light, you can't have that. So they jalebi with milk from Bengal. I like jalebi with yogurt, but jalebi with milk's a bit much. Rubbery. Rubbery is a Rajasthan thing. Yeah, rubbery is another milky thing. It's very nice, but anyway, let's move on from tolis. So they have very good tolis in Bengal. They have a lot of variety. So where there is sweetness, there is purity. You cannot have sweetness without purity. So are you those who remain constantly sweet and fragrant? Acha. Teachers too, seeing the fragrant ones, always remain in the springtime. Acha. The blessing is, may you always have the fortune of being close to the Father by staying away from the influence of bad company. Bad company means listening to all the stupid things people tell you to put you down. That's called bad company. And thereby pass with honors. If you like to stay close to the Father, stay away from the influence of bad company. Many types of exam papers will come in the form of attraction. Do not be attracted by attractive things. There are many influences of many types of company, and there is the company of waste thoughts, depressing thoughts. Thoughts of attraction of Maya, the company of relatives, the company of words, the company of impure food, and the company of actions. So those who protect themselves from the influence of all these types of company pass with honors. It's all around you, everywhere, inside, outside, upside, downside, inside your body, inside your mind, inside your family, inside your church, inside everywhere, and outside everywhere. So become angels. This is the slogan, become angels, and the Father himself will become your canopy of protection in adverse situations. Shanti. So, easy Raj Yoga, light, sing, dance, and fly. And don't let anybody put you down, and be in your power without any arrogance and without any putting yourself down. This depressed state. Loads of people suffering from depression, right? So depression is a direct result of faulty logic. So Baba teaches us logic, because stay within the boundaries. You also have to know which boundaries to create. Srimat is 4 things. Be soul conscious, right? Remember Baba, yes? Spin the cycle, be pure. That's enough, right? If you have, in Judaism, there are 600 laws, religious laws. Oh, that's too many to remember, And there are BKs who like to create many, many millions of different kinds of Shrimat. So I think keep it simple. And do what you like doing because it's healthy. Do you like being soul conscious? Do you like remembering Baba? Do you like spinning the cycle? And do you like being pure? So it's not difficult to follow those 4 Shrimats because you like them. Don't do this, don't do that, don't do the other. Your mind doesn't have any sense. So if you tell your mind, don't do such and such, it will always do it. It's always like that. It can't. There's nothing like no in the mind. You say a word, it associates. Don't do this, it will do it. Do this, it will do it. It doesn't hear the no, absolutely. And so anything that starts with the word don't, forget it. It's not going to work. Of course, we don't like don'ts. Do be soul conscious. Do remember Baba. Do spin the cycle. Do dance, fly, sing, and what else was it? Be light. Be a trustee. Laugh, yes. Are you laughing? Eat only good thoughts. Lots of Bengali toli. Not too much. I see a question. What is the duty of a ruler in this golden age as a spiritual authority? That's a good question, right? Oh, let me go with this one first. So the ruler has to give out the perfume of the feeling of security and the feeling of love. So all of our spiritual qualities like the love, purity, peace, power, love, bliss in the soul, the ruler has to have that to a huge extent so that it's always exuding. That's spiritual authority. And then the political authority is you organize the picnics and stuff because they do a lot of picnics in the golden age. She did. There was this rock Now it's gone because somebody bought it and put some building on it, but it was a really nice rock near to Nucky Lake. Flat, more or less flat, as far as rocks can be flat. And so when Bab Dada used to come very late in the morning, and he would, once he came all night from 7 o'clock in the evening till 11 o'clock next morning. Yeah. And then she said, okay, take your bath and then come, we'll meet at the rock and we'll have the Murli on the rock. That was nice. Yeah. Because it's winter time when Baba's coming. And so by like noon, it was sunny. So when it's sunny, it's warm. When it's not before sunrise, it's cold. So she had us go and have the Murli on the rock. It's no, it's near to Panda Bhavan. But you know, there's somewhere where they have all these businesses. There was once they had they made these big balloons, and people would go inside and float on the lake. So, and now they have this side, near Nucky Lake. But as you go to where the mosque is, yeah, and the mosque is on the right. You go on the left, and it's there. But now they've messed everything up with all their tourist attractions and so on. See, but it used to be quite wild, and the path all around the lake was just a dirt track, and you had to really watch out you don't fall in. The difference between respect and honor. Well, this is in Hindi. There's this word "man," you see, and I'm dealing with English. Every language has different nuances because words never translate from one language into another. In Spanish, there is this word orgulloso, something like that. Yeah, so that's, be in your honor. And in English, one thing is what the word means according to the dictionary, but very few people use the English language correctly. And so they add and subtract different values to the words. And I use the word honor for man. In Hindi, they use the word man, swaman, and this type of thing. And people desire man. And that means they want to be shown all these signs of honoring some person, which means you have to put yourself down in order to put someone up. That's a very body conscious type of respect and honor. And it creates a relationship of tyranny, which is not really what Baba's talking about. He's talking more about you have to be in your power, you have to be in your honor, because you don't know who anybody is, because your position in BK doesn't necessarily correspond to your position in the Golden Age. And to consider yourself to be the honorable person and honor somebody, it's like, I like better this word honor, even though you can use the same word. But for me, it seems better. It's nothing to do with being equal, because nobody's equal. In the United States, there's this preoccupation with equality. In France also. But nobody can be equal because everyone is different level from everyone else. You have different intelligence, you have different karma, everything is different. But this idea of being in your own honor, that and honoring another person for who they are without dishonoring yourself, you see. So it doesn't matter whether they're equal or not. That's not really the issue. What's important is you honor them because they are a being, and because they are Baba's child, because, it's like a kind of politeness. So if you are a person in a very high position and you harm somebody, that doesn't look very good for you. No. But you get in the world today, people in high positions, they put everyone else down because they feel their position is not secure. So that means they're not very high. So you need to be in your power and in your honor and in your spiritual fragrance. And you don't have to put anyone down. It doesn't make any sense. If you put somebody down, it means you're not who you present yourself to be. You are, you're in arrogance.
People that put someone down because they don't feel good themselves, and they think by putting someone down, it makes them feel better. It's a weird.
You see, a person who is in body consciousness of I am so and so, I am the boss, etc., etc. Their relationship with the other people is adversarial because they cannot afford to respect people. And if they would respect people, those people would challenge them wherever they do something wrong. And they don't want that. Because a person who is in a high position based on doing something which is not very honorable to get into that position, they're always having to watch their back. And so what they do is they make everybody feel really low, and they usually use a lot of violence. So this is why I call it tyranny. A tyrant will do that. So there is a king who was called Vikramaditya in India, and he was a very, very, very great king in India, and he didn't have that problem. I see. But anyone who comes in a high position because of fiddling the situation or because of war or because of whatever, they have to watch their back. So they have millions of security people and all sorts of stuff to protect themselves because they are insecure, because they got into their position by dishonorable means. And so this is the case for most people in position of power. And Baba is talking to us about coming into a position of power on the basis of being in your own power and that you control your interpretation of what's happening in your mind, intellect, sanskaras. And also, everything belongs to Baba. A person who desires power is not powerful. A person who is powerful doesn't desire power. So I have this question I ask people time to time. Is it better to be a weak soul in a position of power or a powerful soul in a weak position? But then you have to handle being in a weak position. So if you don't care about that, yeah, exactly. So it's much more interesting to just be a powerful soul and not be concerned about what your position is in anybody else's eyes, because your position in Baba's eyes is something else, right? So he will honor you. He's talking about how he honors you. He knows who you are. He honors you. But do you know who you are? And do you honor yourself? It's nothing to do with how it looks in the material world. That's all full of illusions, right? Or am I crazy? I don't think so. Yeah.
I just joined, but in Hindi Murli, Baba mentioned Saman. But
Swaman.
No, Saman also.
Okay.
And in English, it had two words, respect and regard. So somebody in the class was asking the same question, but the Murida here did not answer. So I don't know if you touched upon that yet, but
Samman, no, that's something else. Samman is honoring people, and you have to honor people. Samman. There was some unclarity about the exact word, and the sister was asking about Samman, which is a ritual demonstration or ceremony that shows respect. And some people, they feel that if that ceremony is not performed, or the display of respect in physical ways is not performed, then it means that the person is not respected. And this is quite specific to India, but you also do find it in other cultures. But this is what the word Samman means. Saman is to be like God or like Baba. And this is where the confusion came because of the closeness of pronunciation of the words. So I go on to talk about Swaman, which is what you will hear about. But I'm just inserting this little bit here to clarify what was going on. Saman is translated in the English Murli as equal, Saman, because it said you have to be equal to the Father, means do what he does, be equal to him. As a teacher, be equal to him, Saman. And so then you have to ask yourself this question. If you tell yourself you have to be equal to God, what does that do to your consciousness? It creates confusion. And so Saman can be translated in a few ways. For example, do as he does. Be like him. Do what he does. So he honors everybody. So you honor everybody too. Saman means that. And if you put it in that way, then you know what to do. But if you tell yourself you have to be equal to God, you don't know what that means. You don't know what to do. Anyway, he's not even a human. So, you can't not be a human. You are a human. So do as he does. That's a clear instruction and easier to work with. Right? What does honor look like? It's a semantic matter, right? If you are going to do as Baba does and honor everyone, that means that you are showing honor without putting yourself down. And you can use the word respect in that way also. But the culture that we are in uses the word respect to imply that you have to put yourself down while putting somebody up. And that is, to me, not what Baba's talking about. And so my solution to that is to put a different word. Because you see, it's very, very, manipulation of people's feelings is very easy if you're very skilled. And there are people who are very skilled in manipulating people's feelings because that's called politics. And that's okay. But a lot of people do not know when they're being manipulated. And so most people are getting manipulated a lot of the time. And so how do you function in a study situation without that? And so one solution, according to me, is you use a different vocabulary, because the mind picks up on certain words where there are associations, and these are called loaded words, like sin. Anybody says sin, you become a sinner, right? Instantly, even if you don't want to, because you've been trained. And in the same way, somebody may say, oh, I don't know why there are some people, they just feel bad about themselves. So what do? You immediately think, oh, she's probably referring to me. And you start feeling bad about yourself, just like that, because it's a Pavlovian training. And how do you get free from that? You use different words which are not loaded. And the word honor is not very much used. And so because of that, it doesn't have a load. So then you have to think, what does it mean? And you can describe it in such a way that you stay in your self-honor and you honor somebody else, but you don't put yourself down, you see. But in a environment where you do not feel secure and where you desire to have a position of power, and you want to make sure that nobody challenges that, then you make them put themselves down while they're respecting you. It's a form of manipulation, and it's very subtle, and we don't really need to go in that trap. And so my solution is to use different vocabulary. I don't know if that's the best solution, but that's my solution. Because I feel my job is to make people think. And it's quite difficult to think freely, you know. And it's quite difficult to be in your power when you're in an environment that disempowers you. And it's all very subtle. Innuendos, machinations, vibrations, all this stuff, you see. So you have to be very, very sharp to pick it up and be free. Like in a Lokic family, or the extended family, there's a culture, and a culture of pecking order. And it's power play, and who wants to be the top pecker and who wants to be the bottom pecker. And it's all about this hierarchy thing. You know, many Western BKs react against what they call hierarchy. But actually, the problem is not the hierarchy, it's the manipulation. But if you don't use the word that applies, you get confusion. And if you say manipulation, then you have to have the evidence, because you can't prove something without evidence. But when you want to prove something very subtle, then your evidence has to be correspondingly subtle. And what we have in the world today is all this, what they call as conspiracy theories. And it's like wall-to-wall conspiracy theories, which means that it's very, very difficult to find out what the truth is, because the people who manipulate the people's thinking, they use algorithms to spread so much complications and confusion that even if you have the truth right in front of you, the algorithm will make you doubt it. And so this is called immoral but legal, because the laws are only just catching up with that. But it takes a lot of very sharp people to point out how the people are being misused. And in war, they call this psyops, right? Psychological operations. And it used to be that you could use that for propaganda against the enemy in a war, but you can also use it just as well for your own people. And this is what they do. And then you say, oh, you know, what is this? And because it's very, very subtle, and it's very, very widely used. And then you have to ask yourself this question, can I be so clear, so connected to my own sense of self that I don't get trapped by these psyops? Because it's exactly the same as psyops. And it has a history of thousands of years. And there are experts, and the number one expert is a character by the name of Chanakya. Have you heard of Chanakya? So he started this whole thing 1,000 years ago. And there are many scriptures where the foundation for this is laid, you know, and people are trained in accepting ideas that are not true. This is how they manage to create racism. Institutionalized racism is done through psyops. And you know it, but you fall in the trap anyway. So how to not get trapped by psyops? Very difficult. But you have to. Because it plays on people's susceptibilities and weaknesses and a lack of clarity, and it's all connected with different kinds of traumas. And very difficult to come out of. But yet Baba gives us little, you know, like angles on reality where you can wake up and say, oh, this is what's going on. This is what's real. This is body consciousness. This is soul consciousness. But it's very, very subtle. And people generally take it in a very gross way. But it is not gross. It's very subtle. And if you're really pure and really clean, you can detect if something's not clean. But if you're not clean, you can't detect. So the idea, I think, is really make yourself super, super clean. And people won't like that, because if you're super clean, what happens is it makes people who are not super clean more visible. It shows them up. They don't like that. They consider it disrespect. You see? So it's very difficult, because if you want to be super clean, it makes everybody else look dirty. They don't like that. So, but if you're not super clean, then you're not following what Baba's telling. So, you know, a little bit you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, but you have to do it anyway. What to do? So dance, fly, and sing. And laugh. Yeah, that's really a very good solution. Yeah. So we get that T-shirt. That's the way.
Where Baba says, a real diamond, no matter where it is, it always shines.
Yeah.
And you don't have to prove the truth.
Right.
And if you are a powerful ex-deity, you are who you are. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to seek for a position of power. You just shine.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
So the question is around when you are shining, and especially this, your past thinking pattern should not stop yourself from shining. Right. So, I mean, you already answered it, that you have to be subtle enough to sense which part of your PTSD of the past 63 births is stopping you from shining the truth from within you, or is it the ego which is trying to step up and then playing the game of, oh, you're an ex-deity and I'm going to stomp over you?
Where the soul is corrupted, which every soul is corrupted, right? how you handle that is with ego. And because it's a way to protect your wounds or your shame or whatever it is. And then you get told various things. And so then you flip-flop between the superiority and the inferiority, because ego is both. But being in your self-honor is not superior, it's not inferior, it's what you actually are. And that's the diamond. You see, if you're not a diamond and you make yourself look like a diamond, you're still not a diamond. You're fake. And so people who decide that they will handle their problem by looking good, they want money, prestige, position, protection, power, all of these things. It's make you look really good. But behind it, the person's fake. And then you get other people who handle their wound by putting themselves down so that they are not drawing attention to themselves. So they will hide. And so you get, like in psychology, they use this expression, fight or flight or freeze. And so the person who uses a lot of stuff for ego, they're fighting it, don't come and bother me because I will bop you one, And then the flight is, don't find me, I'll hide, I'll go in disguise and leave me alone. They do that. And then the freeze, they get paralyzed. And so either of those three is not your real self. But so all of that then is ego. And so when you come to Baba, you don't know what your problem is. Are you just looking for God? And so you find God and he says, this is good, but you have a few problems, so let's sort them out as well and learn this stuff and become a king. And, you have a lot of work to do. And this is why he gives us time to do all that. And he calls it Maya and all that. So this is a competition to become the Lakshmi and Narayan, number 2 or further, because number 1 is already fixed, Brahma, Baba, and Saraswati. And then we have the 8 jewels, and we have a pretty good idea who they are, but the rest of us is more or less, let's see what it is. And it's a very competitive environment because people do get tempted by power, position, property, money, and protection. And so these 5 P's take position in your mind instead of the other 5, purity, peace, power, love, bliss, which is the soul conscious. So if you're really in your power, you don't need power. If you really feel that God is my protector, you don't look for protection. If you feel everything, I am Baba's, he will look after me. You don't need money, you don't need property. It's here today, gone tomorrow. He always makes sure you have enough. And you don't need anything except be with Baba and be with the family and dance and sing and fly and laugh. Because why not? A very interesting thing Daddy Janki told me one day. She told me a few really good mantras. And one of them was, you haven't done anything. You can't do anything. You don't have to do anything. Because many people, they think you have to do, because there's a whole culture in BK. You've got to have, how many students have you got? 3. Oh, you're not a very good teacher then, are you? Right? How much money have you got? Oh, not that great. Oh, well, useless, So they evaluate each other on the basis of how many students, how many buildings, how much money, how much this, how much that. It's all physical attributes, which doesn't prove or disprove your competence. You can be not very competent and have a lot of stuff, and you can be very competent and not have very much stuff. It's not connected, but people connect it. And then they put it on you, and then you will feel bad about yourself because of public opinion. So a very important thing in BK that's often said, but nobody much pays attention to it, is never trust public opinion. Never, because it's always incorrect. You know, and what do they do in United States elections? Opinion polls. It doesn't prove or disprove whether the candidate is competent to rule the country. It's totally misleading. And this is why Baba rightfully said, you don't have the authority of spirituality and the authority of political competence, you will have trouble. And what do you have? Trouble. Because the foundation that he's giving us, that you must be clean and pure and in control of your perceptions and your emotions and all of this, and understand what is good company and what is bad company, and keep yourself in order, you'll be in a mess. So don't put yourself in trouble. But be aware that there's all kinds of temptations all around you. Any weakness you may have, those temptations will come along and find it. And so you have to be very aware. And that seems quite okay to me, you know, that this is that kind of study. This is that kind of opportunity, possibility. He says you can be a very, very extraordinary person, and you potentially are. And this is how he honors you. He sees you as that. So now become it. Right?
Yeah, you mentioned about public opinion in that context. Baba says that if you create a powerful atmosphere that will attract souls and so on, so that eventually translates into thinking that way.
But how does that connect with public opinion?
Service will increase and so on. It will, your spiritual power will show up in material aspect. So I think that is how people, you know,
okay,
because they are conditioned anyway, and this again gets processed in that way.
But then it depends on, you know, because it's true. If you have a very good spiritual atmosphere, it will attract not just anybody. It will attract the people who pick up that atmosphere. And these are the people who will be interested in Baba's knowledge anyway. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. The public opinion is about quantity. If you're genuine, BK, the atmosphere will be right. But it may not be what the public likes, but it will be right, I think, you know. Because if you just have a whole ton of people who are all body conscious in the room and not interested in becoming soul conscious, what's that? I don't see the point. If you had 3 people who really understand the knowledge and really like it and want to be soul conscious, that's more interesting to me. But it's not quantity, but it's very good quality, I see. And what is it? They say, you know, one good Brahmin is equal to X number of ordinary Brahmins. So if you're interested in quantity, then you just have half a dozen really good Brahmins, and then you've got as much quantity as you like in terms of what it represents. But the narrative that goes on among people who talk in that way, I think he would call it bad company. And so you don't need to pay attention on that.
So it's very much on the same lines. The question is, which qualities or sanskaras of now, confluence age, determine being Lakshmi and Narayana?
I think that since Brahma Baba and Mama became or are about to become or in process of becoming Lakshmi and Narayan, to be very aware of what they do is what Baba mentioned in the Murli, and this whole thing of honoring, being in your honor and honoring others is a very key sanskar. That's what this whole Murli was all about. And so, yeah.
Next question is a little interesting. Does it is that what it means when God said, "Do you want my power or do you want me?"
Well, this is a mention from the story of the Mahabharata. So let's wait for the ambulance and so on to pass by. There was the scene in the Mahabharata story of Krishna being asleep, and Duryodhana and Arjuna came to be there when he woke up to ask for his help. And Duryodhana sat by his head, and Arjuna sat by his feet. And Duryodhana arrived there slightly before Arjuna. But when Krishna woke up, he saw Arjuna first and then Duryodhana. And so there was a discussion about who came first and who he should talk to first. And anyway, in this question, or this situation, they both wanted him to be on their side in the war. And so he said to Duryodhana, okay, what do you want? And he said, I want all your powers, all your weapons, all your troops and everything. And Arjuna said, I want you. And so he gave himself to Arjuna and all of his stuff to Duryodhana. So everybody was satisfied. But who won? If you are with God, you will win. If you have all the trappings, that will not make you the winner. So that's what that's about. Because in any war, you probably remember the Bob Dylan song, God on Your Side. You remember that? No. It's a very good song. And it's really about the political dilemma of the tyrant and the beliefs, you know, that
the Canadian Army's 5th Division website is saying the battle of the future will be about winning hearts and minds. It seems we BKs can identify with that first by being honest with the self. Thanks for sharing the dream. The dark force you felt might be the psyops.
Who knows? Let's see.
They use gas lighting, so much in those operations. I can gaslight myself by
gaslighting,
thinking I'm a deity instead of facing basic problem of karmic settlement.
Well, no, you have to recognize the self as a former deity and handle karmic settlements as a deity soul must do, honorably and with spiritual power. Yeah, it's not either or, it's both and.
So Joanne Ben said, gaslighting means making someone question their own reality.
Oh, right, yes. That is exactly what they do. Yes. The thing is, settling karma means you will have severe physical pain. You will be subjected to severe social problems, financial problems, all sorts of problems will come your way, and you have to use your power to manage them and not fall apart in the face of them. That's settling karma, because your threshold of pain has to come up, because settling karma will take you to the limit of your endurance and past that, and you have to increase your stage. And the way you do it is you have to surrender to the pain and not let it take you over. And surrendering to it is that you stop resisting it, and then you get through it and you pass with flying colors. But that's not easy. Not very many people can do that. Question your own reality. Oh, Sukanyaban, you're not really a dedicated sister. You're just pretending. You're just making it up. You're just trying to prove to us that we should spend all our money on you. And you're just, and you doubt yourself and you think these people are right. They make you question your reality. And it's not just one attack. You get several attacks from several sides all at once. So, yes.